Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get some insight into charity work. My guest today is Bob Carr. He's the chairman of Give Back. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, so usually I start my guests where they went to college. So where'd you go to school?
I went to the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana.
Ah, fantastic. So let's just go back in time. Was that the only school you wanted to go to, or did you have a particular path that it took you to get to that school? What actually happened?
Well, I went to college back in the 60s, so it's been quite a long time ago, and things are different now. But I applied to one school, and I was accepted there, and I visited it. The first day I ever visited it was the day I registered for class.
Wow.
I had never been to a college campus before.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So now you're at the college, you graduate, right? What happens from graduation to taking you to becoming a chairman of this charity Give Back? Many
decades of time, but my first job out of college, I got a master's degree and a bachelor's. I became a an instructor at Parkland College, which was a brand new community college.
Okay.
Back in 1967, and I managed their computer center for about 5 years, and then I started my business at the age of 25.
Wow.
And worked in software development, and in the mid-'80s got involved with these things called Visa and MasterCards.
Sure.
And it was one of the pioneers in making the transition to electronics, away from manual and voice wow. phone calls in for authorizations.
Wow.
And been in that business since '86, and very involved with it.
So did that create a new business for you?
We created a business that eventually became Heartland Payment Systems.
Okay.
Which was sold, it became a public company on the New York Stock Exchange, and it was acquired by one of our competitors for $4 billion
wow,
2 years ago.
Wow. So from there, I'm assuming that's how you started this charity?
So I started the charity back in 2003. The company was doing pretty well then, and I started giving scholarships out to students that went to the same high school that I did. And as the years went by, we got bigger and bigger, and we started helping different kinds of kids. And it's progressed now to where we have 1,500 students that we've prepaid their college, and 973 seats are taken. We have 527 more to fill, and we're adding more all the time. And we're looking now for students who come from the foster system, mm-hmm. or who have parents and they're incarcerated parents.
So now, tell me the process. Well, how does it all work? How do you find the kids, and how does the money flow?
Right. Well, we have a very unique model of paying for these tuitions, for the tuition, room, and board. We give each university a check for $1 million, and we have signed an agreement that says we're going to pick ninth graders who meet our requirements, which means they're Pell Grant eligible and eligible for the state grants that are available. And we give the school $1 million. They earn interest on that while the students are going through high school. And then the money's there to pay for that education. The university is committed to putting those kids through with zero for tuition fees, room and board. Wow. It doesn't cover books, and it doesn't cover transportation back and forth to home, but it does allow them to work 10 to 15 hours a week to supplement and earn that money so that they have money for books and transportation.
So now the students you said have to come from the foster care area or incarcerated parents.
That's our focus. They don't have to come from those areas, but we find that, we're just trying to do the most good for the most people. And when we started, we took the best students that were needy and out of the senior class and helped them go to college, and that worked wonderful. We set up a program at Princeton Day School in 2007 for students who couldn't afford to pay any tuition at all, full needs kids. And we set up a program there that's worked marvelously, and there's still students in our program there. Wow. So right now we're in 7 states. We have 29 partner universities, and the high school guidance counselors are primarily the people who identify kids. We want kids who maybe think they can't go to college, and we want to give them hope that they can go to college by awarding them a scholarship and saying that if you take a college preparatory curriculum and get a B average, you have a guaranteed seat. Wow. And we give them a list of colleges that they can go to. For example, in New Jersey here, we have partnerships with 7 universities. And so the students can go to one of those 7 universities because they all have prepaid seats that are there. One of the biggest keys in this whole thing is getting the kids ready for college. There's so many kids who get to be in seniors in high school and they don't have an adequate reading level, or they don't have basic math skills, and even if they got into college, they would fail. Yeah. And there's already 40 million Americans that have started college, not finished it, and most of them have student debt, which is the greatest tragedy because they can't get a good job that pays enough money to help pay the student debt off, and it's a real tough situation. So our strong advice is to know what you're getting yourself into. And so in 9th grade, we have the parents, if there are parents, or the adult in the life of these students, they come in, they come to an information night. We walk through the finances and the opportunities that we offer. And many of the parents who make more money than the Pell Grant eligibility, they thank us because they learned how to avoid some of the really difficult traps that are set by well-intended but people who give bad advice to students.
Yeah, so how do you actually find these students? Are you actually going into I'm assuming inner city type schools to find these type kids?
We definitely do that, and we do that in 7 states. What happens is we find student counselors who really are trying to help these kids, and they refer students to us. So this past year, I think we've added 250 students, 9th graders, into the program. Occasionally we'll take a 10th, 11th, or 12th grader and bring them into the program as well. Mm-hmm. But as we get better known, we have more applicants than we can handle anyway. And we don't like to have, thousands of applications when we only have hundreds of seats. Right. But so we think about 1 out of 2. If we can bring in 1 out of 2 applicants, that's probably a fair number.
So now, how does it get funded for the students?
Like I said, we write a check to the university for $1 million up front.
So
that money's already in the bank.
So are there the donors that actually donate to the charity?
Well, the donors are primarily me. Oh. We have had some donors, but I made a significant amount of money in selling the company, and that's what I want to do with it. So that's where the money comes from. However, now, after I set out my non-compete that I had as the CEO of Heartland Payment Systems, I started another company called Beyond, and Beyond is owned half by the Give Back charity. Wow. Yeah.
Fantastic. So that money that is made from one goes right into
exactly.
The charity.
There's so many well-intended people who work very hard and do nonprofits, but they're always looking, for help raising funds. Yeah. And I have this idea that if you can start a company and make it very valuable, there's a revenue stream right there.
Sure.
So my goal is to get to the point where we have enough cash flow coming in by ownership of Beyond that we'll be able to continue to fund thousands and thousands more seats.
And now, do you continue to keep on finding more universities that want $1 million?
Most all universities would like to have $1 million. That's not a problem. No, there's no problem in finding the universities at all. But we have a very significant mentoring program.
Okay.
We have about 30 employees in the Give Back, and their primary mission is to help these kids, educate them about what courses to take, help them through their curriculum, make sure they take calculus, make sure they take honors English. And these kids, we have a very high percentage of kids who get through high school with a B average. In fact, the first year that we did this, we had 42 out of 42 ninth graders graduate from high school with a B average.
Wow.
And 91% of our students who start college finish in 4 years.
So now, do you see that because you start out with students that are in ninth grade, do a lot of them fall off by the time they get to senior year, or is it because of the program that they stay on and they continue to get better and better as the years go on?
Well, this program that we're in right now we're in our 6th year of the program, and so far we haven't lost one student between 9th and 12th grade. We pick kids who have demonstrated that they could get good grades, a B average at least in 8th grade.
Okay.
And that are doing okay as freshmen. And once they know they're going to college, as long as they take the right courses and stay out of trouble,
sure.
It's a big motivator, and that's what it's all about, right? Is give them hope, then give them help through, and then pay for their full tuition, room and board.
So now, what happens when they're at college? Do you take any steps to watch them as they're at college?
We have mentors that help these kids from 9th grade all the way through graduation from college.
Wow.
We have an alumni association once they graduate from college.
Really?
Yes.
So give me a sense of what's happening in college with a lot of the students. What can they expect through the program when they get to college? Is it a regular just college experience that they're getting?
The whole idea is that they have a regular college experience, that they live in university housing on campus, and that's what we require, actually. We require that the students take a full-time load because we want them to graduate in 4 years. The cost of adding that extra year is really, really tough to deal with. We bring the kids together on an occasion, but most importantly, we work with universities who want these kids. And it's really surprising how many of them do and how well they're prepared to handle these kids. All the universities want these kids. They're the kids who miss out on college because they didn't think they had a chance to ever go to college.
So now, while they're at the university, are they learning about how to network with people? Are they learning about career skills, what to take when they graduate?
The university does a good job of working with these kids. We work with them on networking. We have them go visit colleges and high school.
Wow.
We teach them how to, what etiquette to use when they go they're in a dining room. And we have, different classes and different speakers come in and talk to the kids and try to prepare them as much as possible. Our kids sort of feel like they're outsiders, and by focusing on just a few universities per state, we try to bring our kids together. And in some states like California, they have Renaissance programs that are specifically for these kids. Mm-hmm. And with our money, they expand their program and bring in more kids. And we have summer programs for these kids while they're in high school also. Wow. In some cases. It depends on the university. But here in New Jersey, we have 7 really great schools that want these kids. They're geared up to handle these kids. And it's very powerful to see how well this works.
So now, the students that are in New Jersey, when they come into the program, do they have to stick with just the 7 schools in New Jersey, or do you have schools in Pennsylvania or Delaware, or Can they go further out, or is it depends on how much they can afford to get them to where they are?
Well, the students that we help, they don't have any family money to help at all. So they're full needs kids. And that's deliberate on our, from our point of view. And they have to be these 7 schools. And the reason is very simple.
Yeah.
The state aid is significant, especially for these kids.
Sure.
And without that state aid, instead of us giving them $1 million, we literally have to give them $3 or $4 million to take care of the same number of kids.
Gotcha.
And they have to, so there are a couple of places where out-of-state tuition, there is no such thing as out-of-state tuition. One of them I can think of is a trade school that we work with in Media, Pennsylvania, called Williamson College of the Trades, which is a fabulous trade school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do they then they have to stick within that state?
They have to stick within one of those 7 universities in that state. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. So the 7 states that you're working in, those students stay in those particular
That's
states?
correct. Yes.
Okay. So now in the high schools, they're taking all these college preparatory classes. Who's staying on top of the kids to make sure that they're working towards that college goal?
Great question. So we have a mentor program where we have every student is assigned to a mentor, and then we have a mentoring manager, and the mentoring manager makes sure there's 3 parties involved with each one. There's the student, there's the adult in the student's life, often a parent, and then there's the mentor. And so there's this 3-way communication that needs to continually take place for 4 years while they're in high school. And that's the answer is, so the mentor's job is to talk to their student on a regular basis. Regular has to be defined based on the student's situation. Mm-hmm. And then the mentoring manager makes sure that everybody's communicating as much as possible. It's not perfect. Mm-hmm. The mentors are volunteers. We've had in most areas we have plenty of mentors, which is really wonderful and a big surprise to me. I thought we'd have a hard time with that. But a lot of teachers and policemen and just adults really want to be mentors. Some of the best mentors are the students who've graduated from our program. And like 50% of our graduates are mentors. And a lot of them that are in college want to be mentors also when they get to be juniors and seniors.
Wow.
And those are great mentors for kids who are in 7th and 8th and 9th grade.
So that brings me to another question then. When they graduate college, what do you see a lot of these students that go through the program, what do you see them going into? Is it jobs like your company, like Beyond, or is it, they start their own businesses? What type of fields have you seen them go into?
Yeah. They go into every kind of field. A lot of them want to help kids like themselves and show them the way out of the morass that they're in. I will tell you this, we did a survey 1 year ago, maybe 14 months ago, 100% of our graduates had jobs.
Wow.
And many of them are teachers, some of them are scientists. I don't know that there's a lot of difference between just the natural college graduate and our kids, because our kids are ready. Yeah. Difference is our kids appreciate. We tell our kids when we pick them, you've got 2 responsibilities. One is don't mess up our program, get good grades, graduate, and then go to college full-time, graduate in 4 years. That's the model. Don't mess up our statistics. And secondly, when you do graduate, then you give back with your time or your talent as an adult. And they all love that and they take it to heart.
So now what's the expansion plan of your charity?
Well, we started this new company which is half owned by the charity, and our goal is for it to become successful and to take half of the profits from that company and fund additional schools in different states and existing states.
So all across the United States eventually? You'll have them in every state?
Well, that's going to require a very successful company, but we did it once before, so if we can do it again, we actually feel like if we can get to be half of the size of my previous company, that we could fund 50,000 scholarships.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, how about kids from out of the United States? Do you help any of those kids?
We don't. We can't do everything. We'd like to do it, but we can't we're limited to kids in the U.S.
Yeah. So in high school, what else do you see the kids? Is there any other process that you can tell us about the charity with the students, or is there?
It's pretty much mentoring, selecting the kids. We want to select the kids who need it the most.
Yeah.
And so we're working really hard now with the county and the state prisons
Wow.
in our states. And we talk to the mothers. The child of an incarcerated mother has less than a 1% chance of ever graduating from college, which is way lower than the children of incarcerated fathers.
Wow.
And if you think about that, a lot of these kids, they grow up without a father in the house,
Sure.
but they all have a mother figure in the house. And so we're really, in a perfect world, we think that there's hundreds of thousands of children of incarcerated mothers. In a perfect world, all of our students would come from that group.
Yeah.
But they're very hard to, it's not easy to find those kids really quickly, but we're finding more and more of them every year now.
And how about the foster care area where there's basically no parents? They've given up their kids.
Right. And they, so those are the kids we want to help too. And so the children of incarcerated mothers come first, then foster kids, children of incarcerated fathers, and then homeless kids. Those are the 4 priority categories that we have right now. Not all of our kids fit into those categories, but that's what we want. We want to help those kids because they need it the most, and the value to society of taking a kid who comes from an incarcerated mother's home and putting them through college
Yeah.
versus having them live under a bridge or be incarcerated themselves, it's enormous. And what we would really like to do and what we're working towards is developing such an effective program that the state officials can't turn away from it because it works so well.
Yeah.
And so if the states and even the federal government would redirect some of this money that they're already spending and direct it the right way, we can change thousands, tens of thousands of lives.
Now, do you also find a lot of challenge with the students? I mean, some of them probably on like drugs or things like that, because these parents can't be all great people at the beginning.
Of course of course there are some students. They sign a pledge that they're not going to do drugs once they get it, and that they have not been involved in drugs. Mm-hmm. We, knock on wood, we haven't had much of a problem with that.
That's great.
We did have one student though, and this is our sad story, who was in our program, was an A- student back in Illinois where I started the program, and he was doing fine. He was a sophomore. We put him all the way through high school. He's a sophomore in college, and he got involved in a drug deal and committed murder.
Wow.
And he's in prison for the rest of his life, which is a tragedy, and you're like, oh my gosh, what could we have done?
What a story.
Yeah, it's a tough story.
Well, we're coming to the end of our show, and usually I ask my guests, what advice do you want to give to the parents and the students that are out there about the charity and about, what direction you want them to go into?
Well, I think the most valuable advice I could give to any parent who's putting their kids through college and thinking they're going to struggle a little bit is don't pay attention to the advice about go to the biggest name school. You're not going to let your kid go borrow money to buy a Rolls Royce when they can get by with a used, Chevy. Mm-hmm. Why would you do that for a college, as well? A college graduate earns $1 million more in their lifetime from the average person that doesn't go to college. And that doesn't matter what college you go to. Not everybody needs to go to Harvard to be a success. Sure. Or Princeton, right here in Princeton. Going to college and getting that degree demonstrates that you have personal responsibility. Employers are confident to hire you. And so stay away from overspending going to college. And the other thing I'll say, and this isn't fun to say, but I got to say it, just about every college now in the country gives scholarships to over 50% of the freshmen entering their school. They're not scholarships. They're called scholarships because every parent wants to see their kid get a scholarship, including me. And but they're discounts, and these discounts only apply to the freshman year. But the schools don't tell that part of the story. So I would say, understand that you're going to probably get a nice discount the first year, but really dig into it and see what's available the second, third, and fourth year. And a lot of scholarships are not what they're meant to be, not the way they're presented. Even though people who are talking about them have the best of intentions, a lot of students get hooked up and they can't afford to go through college, and they wind up as one of these 40 million families.
Good. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, no problem. So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.